15.
Sí. Good afternoon. We're Mariachi Academy Nuevo Amanecer, and for us, it's a pleasure to be here with you guys. It's an honor. We thank all of you guys for inviting us. Also, especially Teresa, thank you very much for the invitation. And we're gonna play some lovely songs for you guys before this lovely event begins, and we hope you guys like it.
Hi, good afternoon. Our dance is called our dance group. We're Sangre Mexicana. Thank you so much for inviting us again, especially Teresa Garcia. Thank you so much. I really hope you guys enjoyed our songs and dances as well. Thank you again.
This next song is called Guadalajara, con mucho cariño, para todos ustedes. Guadalajara, 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 Guadalajara. Tienes el alma de provinciana, hueles a limpa rosa temprana. Averrejara fresca del río, son mil palomas tu caserío. Guadalajara, Guadalajara, hueles a pura tierra mojada. Señor Zapatel. Ay, colomitos lejanos, ay, ojitos aguarmanos, ay, colomitos inolvidables, inolvidables como las tardes en que la lluvia desde la loma no nos deja mirar a Zapopan. Señor, arriba México y señor, ay, 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 Guadalajara hermosa. Decirte una cosa, tú que conservas agua del pozo de tus mujeres, lo más hermoso. Guadalajara, Guadalajara, tienes el alma más mexicana. Guadalajara. Guadalajara. So. We're going to continue with this next song. We hope you guys enjoy it. Cielito Lindo, so you guys can sing along with us if you guys know it.
Un par de ojitos negros, cielito lindo, de contrabando. De la Sierra Morena, cielito lindo, vienen bajando. Un par de ojitos negros, cielito lindo, de contrabando. Ay, 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 canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran, cielito lindo, los corazones. ¡Epa! cielito lindo que a mí me toca. Ese lunar que tienes, cielito lindo, junto a la boca. No se lo des a nadie, cielito lindo que a mí me toca. Ay, 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 canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran, cielito lindo, los corazones. Canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran, cielito lindo, los corazones. ¡Esto!
We're gonna play this last song for you guys. Esta última canción, como la flor de Selena, con mucho cariño, para que se pongan a bailar, ¿eh? Se vale bailar. You guys can dance as well, all right?
Como la flor, con tanto amor, me diste tú, se marchitó, me marchó y yo sé perder, pero ay, ay, cómo me duele, ay, cómo me duele. Yo sé que tienes un nuevo amor, sin embargo te deseo lo mejor. Si en mí no encontraste felicidad, tal vez alguien más te la dará. Como la flor, con tanto amor, me diste tú, se marchitó, me marchó y yo sé perder, pero ay, cómo me duele, ay, cómo me duele. No sé si pueda volver a amar, porque te di todo el amor que pude dar. No sé si puedo volver a amar, porque te di todo el amor que pude dar. Como la flor, con tanto amor, me diste tú, se marchitó, me marchó y yo sé perder, pero ay, cómo me duele, ay, cómo me dueles, ay, cómo me duele. Gracias.
Well, thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Somos la Academia de Mariachi No Amanecer y el ballet guadalupano, ¿verdad? Que se escuche ese aplauso fuerte de Blandi. Felicidades una vez más. Muchas gracias. Y gracias a Teresa por la invitación. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. We hope you guys enjoyed it. And we hope you guys have a lovely evening. Thank you very much.
option for everyone who needs interpretation. If you do not speak Spanish, we have interpretation devices available for you at the front desk over there. So if you do not speak Spanish, the rest of the program from now will be in Spanish. So please help yourself to one of the devices and let us know if you need help using them. Okay. Bienvenidos a todos.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Leanne, and on behalf of the People's Forum, I want to welcome all of you to this important event. For those of you that are here for the first time, the People's Forum is a political education space, a cultural space, and our program is always based on the anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist, and solidarity as values. In other words, we are a home for all peoples and movements that are fighting for justice and humanity in any corner of the world. And for that, I want all of you to know that you are home. Today, in this time of intense crisis, with the unrelenting genocide against Palestine, the attacks against migrants, against activists and movements here in the U.S., and the threats of the far right against the workers and oppressed of the world, we know that only by coming together can we defeat the forces that are threatening us. So there is no better time for today's conversation, and it's a great honor for us to welcome Jean-Luc Mélenchon, the founder of France Insoumise, France Unbowed, and it's our honor to welcome him today with a revolutionary hug. And today, we're also going to hear from Karina Garcia, immigrant rights activist, and vice president candidate for vice presidency for the Party for Socialism and Liberation, and Mr. Robles, and of course Jean-Luc Mélenchon, leader of France Insoumise. Well, with the interest of time, I'm going to give the floor to Karina Garcia. Good night, comrades. How do you feel? Good. Let's give another round of applause to the comrades that were playing music right now. They brought a little bit of Mexico here to hear New York. We're here at the People's Forum, your home, and I hope you come back. Well, it's a pleasure to again welcome all of you. Welcome you to New York, a city that is not only the financial center, but it's also a city that is built by migrants. It's a city that's sustained by workers, and and today it's a front of struggle against the far right. My name is Karina Garcia. I'm the proud daughter of Mexican immigrants. I joined the movement for immigrant rights as a student activist in 2006 when there was a protest, one of the political biggest rallies in 2006, which was a day with immigrants. And this was happening in all cities throughout the U.S. And it was on the 1st of May, which is coming around, and I hope to see all of you here. I've also been organized in the border of the U.S. and Mexico. and I have so many stories, and I can tell you, based on those experiences, what history has taught us, that our community has so much power, and that our community has a heritage of resistance, a legacy of resistance, and we've been struggling for centuries, struggling against all types of abuse, and we're still here. Today, we're here in a critical moment. Donald Trump and the far right have launched a cruel attack against immigrants, against civil rights, against the solidarity movement with Palestine, and even against the very idea that there can be international unity, that there can be multiracial unity of the working class. And sorry that my Spanish is a little pocho, not the best, but I'm doing my best. Thank you. We have still seen in our struggles that there are possibilities for unity. And that unity we are building every day in our barrios, our communities, our movements that we're building. While the leaders of the Democratic Party are paralyzed at the shock and awe campaign of Donald Trump, the people have not stopped. In cities all across the country, there have been networks of immigrant to defend immigrant rights. Raise your hand if you're part of such a network. Let's give you a round of applause, because that is the power that we can use against Donald Trump. Who here has not participated in an immigrant rights workshop? How many of you have? Everything that we're doing, that's what's making a difference. The people are organizing. The people are organizing to repel ICE and to make that immigration machine, that deportation machine, stop. And they've only reached 40% of their goal. Of course, only that destroys families, but that's a really important point that we have to keep clear. That organizing our communities, organizing the working class, that changes things. And that didn't, no politician from the Democratic Party did that. The very people did that. And now, in his fury, Trump wants to use special laws to criminalize this struggle. And if he can't use the law, he doesn't seek to change it. He seeks to break it. And this is not just a problem in the US. This is a reactionary wave, a global reactionary wave that is taking advantage of the internal conflicts, social decay, to channel it towards fear, channel it towards hate, and in the end, to the support of another faction of the ruling class, which aren't just our enemies, but are the enemies of the entire world. For that reason, even though today we are talking about immigration, our task is not to just fight for the poor immigrants, and it's just solidarity in the abstract. Our task is to generate an international strategy to fight imperialism and to fight exploitation. We are in different countries, but we know that we are part of one world colony where workers are fighting amongst each other, and our response has to be internationalism. I want to highlight some points briefly about Trump's agenda with respects to immigration. First of all, his rhetoric of invasion, that immigrants are invading the US, that is not just racism, it's also a distraction. The ruling class needs scapegoats to evade their own
Si los
responsibilities.
salarios no suben,
If
si
salaries
cierran
don't go
los
up,
hospitales,
if
si los
hospitals close
alquileres se
down,
disparan,
if
culpan
rent goes up,
a los migrantes.
they
No
blame
a los
immigrants. They
multimillonarios
don't
que
blame
hacen cada
the
vez, que
billionaires
hacen cada vez más ricos.
that are
La
wealthier every
ultraderecha
day.
dice que protege
The
a
far
los
right
trabajadores
says
que
that
son
they
ciudadanos
protect
en
the
contra de los
workers
migrantes
that are
para que
citizens
no
against
saturen
the
escuelas,
immigrants
hospitales.
so that they
Pero
don't
una vez más,
flood our schools.
cuando ellos están en el poder,
But again,
ellos
when they're in
mismos
power,
son
they
los
themselves
que recortan servicios
are the
públicos.
ones that cut
Ellos mismos
social
son
services.
los que
They are the
desmantelan la
ones that
educación.
dismantle
Ellos
education.
mismos
They
son
are the
los
ones
que
that
cierran los hospitales y
close
los
down
que
hospitals
eliminan ayudas sociales.
and who eliminate social
Todo lo
services.
que le acusan a los migrantes
Everything
de
that they
este
accuse
país,
the immigrants of doing,
ellos
they are the
mismos
ones
lo hacen.
doing it.
El capitalismo
Capitalism
depende de los
depends
migrantes.
on immigrants.
¿Quién cosecha la comida?
Who
¿Quién limpia los
cultivates our
hoteles?
food? Who
¿Quién cuida a sus hijos?
cleans hotel
Y también
rooms?
a sus
Who
padres?
takes care of your children?
Los
And your
migrantes,
parents, immigrants.
mal pagados, con menos derechos,
Poorly paid,
migrantes.
without rights,
El mismo
immigrants.
sistema
The
que
very
los demoniza
system
se
that
beneficia de sus
demonizes them
Trump
exploits them
no quiere parar
and
la
benefits from their
inmigración,
labor.
nunca lo ha querido
Trump
hacer.
doesn't want
Lo
to
que
stop
quiere es
immigration. All he wants to do
explotar.
is to exploit it
Ciudadanos contra
more.
indocumentados, mientras
Citizens against
corporaciones se ríen hasta el banco.
undocumented peoples.
Esto ya lo hemos visto.
We've
en
already seen
Europa
this.
y también en
We've
los
seen it
Estados
in
Unidos,
Europe
que la
and in the
ultraderecha
US that
grita
the
sobre
far
la
right
teoría de reemplazo, mientras que las
is
empresas
screaming about
usan
replacement
mano de
theory
obra
while
migrante
companies
en México,
use immigrant
Venezuela,
labor
Cuba,
in
las
Venezuela,
políticas de Estados
Cuba.
Unidos son los que generan
US
el
policy
desplazamiento.
is creating
Y
displacement.
después ellos
And
culpan a
then
los
they
migrantes.
blame immigrants.
Es un juego capitalista global
It's a
tan
global
antiguo como el
capitalist
capitalismo
game that is
mismo.
as old as
Cuando
capitalism
Marx
itself.
dijo,
When Marx said,
"Trabajadores del mundo,
"Workers of the
unidos",
world
no
unite,"
era solo un
he wasn't
eslogan
just
bonito.
it wasn't just a
Era
slogan.
la única
It was the
solución
only
para los
solution
trabajadores
for
del mundo
for the workers of the
romper
world
con
to
ese-
break
con ese sistema que
with this
estaba
system
importando
that was
trabajadores de otros
important
países.
workers from other countries.
Hoy no necesitamos
Today, we don't
aranceles
need
altos
tariffs
o deportaciones
or
masivas,
deportations
sino
or mass
un
deportations.
plan
What we need
económico
is an economic plan,
global
a
para
global
acabar
economic
con la
plan
desigualdad
to
entre
do away
el
with
norte
inequality,
y el
with
sur
the
global.
inequality between the global north and the global
Sin
south.
eso,
Without that,
jamás atacaremos
we will
las
never
raíces de la inmigración.
get to the root of immigration.
Trump llama a los
Trump
migrantes
calls
animales,
immigrants
criminales,
animals, criminals,
terroristas.
terrorists.
Ese es el lenguaje de
That
los
is
chinos.
a fascist language. He himself,
Es el mismo lenguaje que usaron
it's the
contra
same
las
language that they
minorías
used against
con las leyes
black
de
communities.
También es la misma que
It's the
utilizan
same
contra
rhetoric
los
that they used against Muslims
el 11 de septiembre.
after 9/11.
También es el mismo lenguaje que
It's the
utilizan
same
contra los
language that they
judíos en los
use against
europeos.
Jewish
Y
people
ahora, lo que estamos
in
viendo
Europe.
es que están escalando
And now we're
ese
seeing that they're
movimiento
escalating that
en contra del
movement
movimiento
against
Palestina.
the
Estudiantes que
pro-Palestine movement.
protestan en contra de
Students
genocidio
that are
son
protesting
difamados como
against
simpatizantes
genocide
del terrorismo.
are being accused of being
Activistas son
terrorist
despedidos
sympathizers.
y arrestados.
Activists are being
Casos
fired,
como el de
arrested.
Khalil,
Cases like the
sin
one of
cargos,
Mahmoud Khalil.
enfrentan deportación.
Without charges, they're being deported. Why?
Porque millones de
Because
personas han
millions
protestado
of people are
ese genocidio
protesting
en
this
contra del
genocide
pueblo
and
palestino.
this
Viva
genocide against the
Palestina.
Palestinian people. Free Palestine!
Y porque millones de
And because
personas no
millions
han
of people
olvidado,
have not
los
forgotten,
últimos 18 meses
in
siguen
the
en
last
las calles
18 months
luchando
they've
por
been
una Palestina libre.
in the streets fighting for a free
El orden
Palestine.
mundial dominado por
The
los
world
Estados
order,
Unidos
dominated by the
exige
US,
que la sociedad
needs
crea que los Estados
stability.
Unidos es excepcional, el
They
mejor
need the
país
world
con
to
los
think that the
derechos,
US is the
el
best
derecho a
country
gobernar el mundo. Eso es lo
and
que
that it
ellos
has the
quieren.
right to rule
Eso
the
es lo que
entire
ellos quieren
globe.
imponer
That's what they want.
por
That's what they
fuerza
want
de
to
todo el mundo.
impose by
Pero la
force
máscara
across the
ya
world.
está
But the mask is slipping.
Está ese despertar
This
progresista
awakening,
que se está
this
viendo
progressive
en el
awakening that
país,
we've
no
seen in
se
the
va a ir.
country is not going to go
Decenas de
away.
millones de personas en este país quieren
Dozens of
construir
thousands of
puentes,
people
no
want to
muros.
build bridges, not walls.
Recibimos a nuestros camaradas
you want to welcome our comrades,
mexicanos y
our
franceses,
Mexican
no
and
únicamente como
French comrades,
invitados, como compañeros de lucha.
not only
Porque
as
sabemos
guests,
que
but as
si la
comrades, because
ultraderecha
we
avanza
know
en
that if the
Francia,
far right
resuena aquí.
moves forward in France,
Cuando
we
México
will feel it here.
resiste el
When
imperialismo
Mexico
gringo,
resists
fortalece
U.S.
nuestra
imperialism,
lucha también.
they strengthen our struggle.
¿Cierto?
Yes.
Quiero cerrar con un reconocimiento
An acknowledgement
a nuestros invitados de esta
to our
noche
guests of this night
y a lo que sus proyectos
and to
políticos
their political projects
significan para nosotros aquí en
and the
los Estados Unidos.
significance of those
En la última
projects to us
década,
here in the
el
United
mundo
States. In
ha
the last decade,
rechazado
the
la
world
política
has
tradicional. Hay
rejected
una radicalización en
traditional
la
politics.
juventud
There is
y también
now
hay
a
apertura
revindication,
a nuevas ideas.
radicalism, and an
Lo
opening for
vimos
new
con
ideas.
Bernie
We
Sanders
saw it
en
with
los
Bernie
Estados
Sanders
Unidos,
in the United
lo
States.
vimos con
We saw
Corbyn
it with
en el Reino
Corbyn
Unido,
in the United Nations.
también el camarada Mélenchon
And the
en
comrade
Francia,
Mélenchon
lo
in
vimos con
France.
AMLO
We
en
saw it with
México.
AMLO in Mexico.
Pero si
But
analizamos
if we
qué
analyze
proyectos
what
siguen
projects
creciendo y
continue
cuáles
to
se
grow
estancaron,
and
la diferencia
also
está en la
got
valentía
stuck,
para
the
romper
difference is in the
con el
bravery
sistema
to
político
continue to
tradicional,
break
no en
the
reformarlo desde
traditional
adentro.
political system, not to
A
reform
nuestros
it from the
camaradas
inside. So
mexicanos,
to our comrade,
su
to
lucha
our
contra
Mexican
el abuso y
comrades,
la injerencia de
your
Estados Unidos en
struggle
nuestra lucha
against,
no se puede entender a la clase
we
trabajadora
can't
en Estados
understand the
Unidos
working
sin
class if
saber la clase
we do
trabajadora
not
mexicana.
acknowledge the
A nuestros
Mexican working
camaradas
class.
franceses,
To
su
our French
batalla por una
comrades, your
Francia
struggle
nueva
for a
contra
new
la ultraderecha
France
y el
against the
centro
ultra-right
extremista
and the center
igual de
of
intolerante
extremists
es también
who
nuestra
are
batalla.
intolerant is also our struggle.
Nuestro partido por el
Our
socialismo y la liberación admira
Party for
estos
Socialism and
ejemplos.
Liberalism admires these
Por eso
examples.
corremos
So
por cargos
this is why
políticos
we
fuera de los
are
partidos dominantes,
running
fuera
for
de los
political
republicanos,
positions
fuera de
outside
los
of the
demócratas, para crear un
dominant
partido
parties, to be
independiente
able to
de
create an
nuestro
independent
pueblo,
party
con
for the
nuestro
people,
programa
with
para
our
nuestra
program for
gente,
our people,
independiente.
independent.
Estos movimientos sociales
These socialist
contra ambos
movements
partidos son lo que va a hacer el cambio en este país.
are we going to
Esto
create
todos
change
lo
in this
vamos a hacer
country,
juntos.
and we're going to
Gracias
do
por
that all
demostrar
together.
que la izquierda
Thank you for
puede y debe
showing us that the
dar
left
sus
can
propias
and
respuestas a
should
la crisis de
give
hoy.
their own answers
Es
to
hora de
today's
luchar
crisis. It's time to
y la lucha
fight
obrera no
and
tiene fronteras. Con eso,
and with that,
quiero darle la palabra
I would like
a
to give the
nuestro
word to
compañero
our
Manuel
comrade Manuel Alejandro Robles from the Secretary of the Exterior in Mexico. Well, as you can see, we are very honored to be here, like at home. Karina represents specifically to what Morena is in hope. Our movement formed by Andrés López Obrador is in charge first of taking care of the poor, and the poor are first, and that's what's a consensus in our national territory. And we have a lot of hope because that premise will award in American soil, because the majority of, we are convinced that the ultra-rich are the priority of this country, and this is what is governing here in the United States. And we believe that there will be a rejection from different sectors, from women, from youth, like Karina Garcia represents in that awakening of consciousness. The daughters of immigrants who are now the head, who are now leading the manifestations, who with a pro-Palestinian, with a Mexican flag and a United States flag, are the awakening of the consciousness, the revolution of the consciousness, and that makes us very proud because we know that Morena is not just a movement that is limited to Mexican story, nor is it a political party. Morena is that movement, that social movement that will accompany this great movement that is rising in American soil. And so we are very hopeful and honored to be here. We have a militant base here that is very valuable. There are Morenistas here who are openly organizing in militancy. We have committees who are very active. Morena number one. They are a model of communication. They wish, our party wish that they had the ground and the communications that this committee has. Here, Richard, who's out here, we're very grateful. Thank you. We are very happy to be part of this history here because we're going to win. We're going to win because this supremacist complex is done for, and we have to synthesize that. These cuts that they are making is not just demonizing migrants who are the people who put food on the table and an economy. They serve two nations. They both here in the United States and in Mexico, and that's proof through remittances. We cannot sustain. We cannot explain how Mexico sustains itself without its most important income, because in additional to the remittances that Mexico receives, this money goes back to the most poorest places in Mexico. It is the working class who has sent these resources, and the ultra right in Mexico has wanted to insinuate that this is the product of organized crime. So imagine this fascism, the ultra right in Mexico, side by side with the ultra right globally, who would like to contribute to this narrative that demonizes migrants. So we reivindicate and be for certain that in Mexico, in our country, and you might remember before López Obrador became president and what happened, and you can read the labyrinth of solitude by Octavio Paz, who used to say, "I'm not from here and not from there." And our president then says in 2018, they are heroes because they took the most complicated path to take our country forward. Heroes, heroines who changed the paradigm of Mexico. They redefined it, and today the ideal is specifically that we do not continue to exercise our rights and continue to exercise our rights wherever we are. And that is the message that we have, and that is what Mexico means. We have the knowing that God may make things difficult, but won't choke you. And we are now starting within the fourth transformation. Claudia Sheinbaum, the defender of our people, and even more has ordered at the border that has demanded that they remove the signs that tell our people to leave from our country. And we know that even though we have been ran out of other places, we're not going to leave. We're going to be here because the power that our culture has is a component of this nation. You cannot explain the United States without this contribution. It's easier to stop eating cheeseburger than it is to stop eating tacos. So I don't want to bore you, but I just want to say that we are with our people wherever they are today. The Constitution, the Mexican state will be where there is a single Mexico. And what are we gonna do if where else would we be if in the United States there are 40 million Mexican people and 11 million who were born in Mexico and are now living here, and of which one of two is undocumented without status. We are going to fight to continue to bring our people out of our shadows, out of the shadows, and that is what Dr. Sheinbaum embodies. And that Morena will be here to defend the people, the honesty of our leader, Manuel López Obrador, because now the ultra wants to come and say to the United States government that they commit to Mexico because there is and that is why we know that they are here in Brooklyn. Karina Garcia Luna, who was one of the leaders in. Now they want to say that they are part. Because if you ask me to define fascism, and I would say that it's synonym to anti-immigration. And we are here moving on because we want to listen to Mélenchon. Long live the people of Mexico in the United States. Long live the immigrants. Long live the alternative to imperialism, which is humanism. Thank you all. I'm very grateful to be here from Canada, now here. It appears in my book as it was translated to English and then to Castellan. And it was edited by my Mexican comrades. To give a fraternal hug to the members of Morena. Unfortunately, it was not possible to see Manuel López Obrador. And also to give a copy to our comrade president, which was a moment for me to learn with our Latin American comrades. Because today, if I'm able to present this book, that is a theory of the current political conditions, and this is essential in the book. It's essential topics that I learned in Latin America because it was the first place that was this that disrupted neoliberalism after the fall of the Soviet Union in Venezuela, in Ecuador, in Bolivia, in Peru, in the all throughout Latin America. This chain was broken, and we learned so much, and we needed to disrupt this bad habit of Europeans where they would say, or they would try and teach everybody how to practice socialism. And so and a comrade from Argentina told me from a cooperative as one of the many crises that were happening in that, and then all of a sudden all the owners left, and there were people who organized the cooperative, and there were and us three Europeans talking about socialism, whether it was good or bad in Cuba, Venezuela, and we tried and we debated, and at the end, the Argentinian comrade stopped us and said, well, with the socialism here in Latin America, we're going to worry. But you Europeans, would you please explain to me how are you going to leave this crisis without causing a world war? And this I cannot forget a single word, and I feel like a student before the leftist movements in Latin America and in Mexico as well, because what happened there was monumental. For the first time, a country that has 100 miles of border is doing what they're supposed to be doing. Navigating their relationship with dignity. We know each other for I don't know how long. And when he arrived and I saw him for the first time, the president of Mexico,
I asked him, what's the problem with the gringos today? And he told me 3,000 kilometers of a border, and I immediately knew what he meant. And Claudia Chainbaum told me the same thing. We manage a relationship based on rationality with the U.S. president. In other words, when he says we have to fight narcos, we say, yeah, we agree. When he says, well, we have to be strong, and she says, yeah, I agree. No. And she says, you are the ones consuming the drugs, not us. And second, when they kill each other amongst themselves, the narcos, they kill each other with guns that we don't produce. So yeah, we can help each other. You can help us by stopping the flow of guns into the country. And then when the U.S. president says we have to put 12,000 army officers in the border, Mexico says, yeah, maybe we can have 10,000. And then Chainbaum says, oh, that's a good... Chainbaum says, no, not for fighting. We must stop the war. We must stop fighting if we want to do a true transformation in Mexico. And I tell you about Chainbaum, AMLO would say the same thing. He would say, Trump called me and he said, we have to build a wall from the Pacific to the Atlantic. And AMLO would say, well, yeah, if you want to build a wall, let's do it. But President, it's no use because people are just digging under it, and they're just passing under it. And that was very impressive to me. The strength doesn't come from how loud your voice is. And for us, it was very important to teach our peoples what was happening in Mexico and what was happening in Canada and here in the U.S. And that's why I started this tour, starting in Mexico, because in Mexico I was threatened. And then they threatened Canada. And in Canada, there's also a very important place for a French person, which is Quebec, because they speak a very human language, which is French. Yes, it's a beautiful thing. It's an incredible place, which is it's 3 times bigger than France, Canada. And why? Because nobody was saying anything to the great Trump. He was threatening Mexico, and nobody would speak up. He threatened Canada, and not one state official would speak up. And that when in Canada they say we don't want to be a U.S. state, no means no, in French, in Spanish, in all the languages. So then I went, just me with my papers, the only European leader coming to say we don't accept this. Macron came here, and he was smiling at Trump, hugging Trump. Not one word for Canada, for Mexico, for Quebec, who are friendly. They did that in the British Prime Minister. A journalist asked him, "Have you talked to Trump about Canada?" And he said, "No, I don't want to fight with Trump. Leave me alone." He was so scared. He was scared. And the president of the European Union, not one word. They were all scared. The only ones that are not scared now is the people in all of our countries. The people are not afraid. We are waiting for the correct moment to fight. That's what we're doing. Well, so we did 2 conferences in Canada, 1 here. Well, we were planning on doing 2, but one of the universities got scared and they invited me, and then they were like, no. But CUNY, I did it, and we did a beautiful meeting in CUNY. But look, this is important. Who am I? Nobody knows me in this huge country. I'm just a Frenchman. So they invite people. They say, oh, you have to register. 1,000 people registered. But there were only... But for me, it's a signal. It's not to see me. These 1,000 people that wanted to come here, they wanted to say something to the president. And I don't think that the U.S., the people of the U.S., are afraid. We did a conference of France Insoumise here in the U.S., and 30 or 40 of them told me we can't come because they're going to see us. Because here, in the supposed center of freedom, of liberty, people are afraid of participating in a meeting of French people. That's incredible. That used to happen in the Soviet Union, not here. Here, people are afraid of losing their green card, but they're not afraid of Trump. And we have to understand that this is a very special moment. It's a very important shift in the political life of the entire world. It's not just an event at the end of an election when we say, oh, Trump has won against the left. No, there wasn't a left here. So he didn't win against the left. He won because there wasn't any other option, anything else to bring the people together. That's what happened. But the result has an effect on the whole world. Because you say, oh, let's let the U.S. Do what they want. And we're like, oh, let's respect the Trump presidency. But the results implicate the entire world. And he produced, as the leading power of the world, he put out a political manifesto and he presented it to the rest of the world. The first measure, we're going to get out of the Paris Accords. That tells us that there's no common good to defend, and that there's no human interest. That is a political manifesto, just as the Communist Manifesto. So that tells us that what is the plan? The plan is the U.S. are going to be the masters of the world again, and we are going to address the crisis of hegemony. That's what Trump is telling us. First, he left the Paris Accords, and that's the most important thing. We are losing time right now. We are losing time because human civilization can end with climate change. We can't stop it right now. But what we have to do is prepare our societies and teach them solidarity, common, and employ the policies that we need. And he said, drill, baby, drill. That's his slogan. That's insane. That seems insane, but he is not insane. He's not crazy. He has a plan. He has a strategy. He has an objective, which is world domination. And that is Trump's political manifesto. Climate denial and anti-progressivism. How can we say Trump wants us to be scared, but the people are not scared? Because I don't think that they really want the immigrants out of this country, because this country can't function without immigrants, because what they want is to divide the people between the migrants and the citizens. They want to divide the working class with the racism, because it's a need for them to maintain inequality between peoples. That is Trump's manifesto. And they need racism, sexism for that manifesto, because they are. Why? Because these are political objectives. That is all. So, their struggle, that is the struggle that we have to fight as men and women that are for emancipation and liberation. That is why we have to have an unending fight against sexism and racism, against religious hatred, against Muslims. Just because hate is what the U.S. is using, just as they did with Huntington's text, because since they didn't have communists, now they had to paint the Muslims as the enemy. That is the world that we're living in. And that is the manifesto that they're applying. And it's a political game. The domination of the world by the U.S. But everything has its contradiction. This this person, Trump, the master of the capitalist world, comes to us and explains that after 30 or 40 years saying that the master of the world is profit, and that the invisible hand of the market is going to fix everything if you don't touch anything. But now he says, no, 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 it's not the invisible hand, it's my hand with tariffs. No, the state is going to intervene. He's at it. And that's a way of saying this system does not work. Doesn't work to promote human civilization because they're destroying the environment. It doesn't work to organize the relations of peoples because they're saying that. So we're entering a new era, a new form of this U.S. imperialism. They know that they have lost the fight. Today, China is the biggest producer in the world, and in 2030, China is going to surpass every country. The truth is that no economy can survive without producing something, and what happens with the U.S. is that this country doesn't produce almost anything. They produce insurance policies, they produce financial services, but you can't eat that, you can't use that, you can put that on your back. But for food and for everything else, you have to import it. That is the reality. Reality is materialist. And that's, so we need a materialist way of, a materialist ideology. So the new form of imperialism is decadent. It's all-encompassing, first of all. All-encompassing means
first, all of the goods of the world pass through the sea. So let's control the sea, Panama. And then to control everything, we have to control the numeric webs, the cousins. And then so that this works, we also have to control the prime materials, the resources. Great, Greenland. What's in Greenland, if not this? The natural resources that they need, and what is in Panama? That is the all-encompassing that they're trying to do since the 19th century. Urgent in the 20th century is when there was decolonization, and again we go back to this first before the invasion, before Putin's invasion, the genocide, and the invasion of Netanyahu in Lebanon, Syria, and all of the neighboring countries, and then the other night I find the ambassador to France and the external minister of. They were having a conversation. What do you think about this? We take thunder and you take Lebanon, and because what do we need Belgium for? This is normal. We talk, yeah, we can talk about what we want. And it just seems normal to have a meeting in this way. And what I can say now over Lebanon, what's going to happen? Not that ultra-right, sir. And whoever else, we have to respect the borders. Because the borders, as you all know, and if there are Mexicans here, in every meeting that I go to, I comment half of the territory of Mexico was stolen by the United States. This country is very dangerous to your neighbors and to the entire world. In 245 years of the United States, the 220 of those were war. So please, no solidarity or not a single laugh when Trump says we're going to take Canada, we're gonna go to Greenland because he's willing to do it, and when they threaten Mexico, they are likely to do it. So we always have to be organized to confront this reality. And we know one thing for sure today: our capitalist leaders are incapable against any type of resistance. Look, what are we gonna do? They're declaring the war. Who's gonna pay? All of you. The inflation will be terrible, 10% to all the countries of the world. And that's the characteristic of this capitalism. It's not because it dominates through its technicalities. No, it's because it dominates simply because it dominates military-wise. And it's a tribe-like capitalism. If you want to be protected, pay 5% of your national reserves. So we're going to pull out 5% of our national reserve to arm ourselves against who? And what arms are we going to buy? Yours? Us, French. We have what we need, but you all, but the entire world, 5%, please. And what did the little European puppies decide? And immediately they were going to take out 800 million. It's just 8%, just like Trump wanted, and they are all on their knees. They're incapable, and we do not want to be part of this commercial war. Not because we're convinced, because the free rotation of merchandise is a good political project, but no, because the tariffs, and we're going to threaten the Mexicans too. We're going to substitute the antique model of free circulation and free market. We need to challenge this notion. It's a ordered world, and we do not want a multi-plural country, because what they need is war. They want an ordered world with a common law of the international order of the United Nations, and they are like the driest institution, and we have this most important. If there is no common law, there is the law of force. The law of force is never changed, even after death. So even better. And when there is law, we need it to be discussed. And this is democracy. An all-encompassing empire, and one that's prepared for war. Today, the United States are preparing for war against China. And if you do not know this and you think that this is a threat, alert. It's an error. And if you believe that those of you who vote here, who are capable of deciding not to do anything, then we all know where we're going, to war, and this war could be the final. Because nowadays, wars are atomic. And we need to consider that always. Well, that's the black taboo. But we do have measures of resistance, all of us. But look, this man will aggravate the tensions and the social conflicts in all of our countries because with 10% of inflation introduced by the tariffs, where in other countries they are 25% and some products are 100% and more than 100% for the products that are arriving from China. I'm just waiting to see how the United States is going to react upon a tariff of 100% in so many products that are unavailable here in the United States, which is almost parallel to how this country cannot function without immigrants. We're not going to help them. We're going to fight. And this fight that we handle is not just a fight of ideological preference. What we are needing is to survive and then to live better, because it is possible. If there were less accumulation of capitalism, without accumulation in the whole world, everyone could eat. In France, imagine this, there are 9 million people who do not eat as they should. There are 12 million people who are poor. In such a small country today, everything is disorganized in regards to public services because the French government believes that the private sector is going to do the work, and it's not true. And this is all going to push towards a constitution worldwide that it's going to be even higher, not just here, but in my country and in other countries. And before this, there could be that there is a crisis because global capitalism and its global entrenches is very weak. And if they are stuck together, it could explode, just the way that we saw in 2008. The one who can create this crisis is the king of capitalism, Donald Trump, not of communism, ni morenistas. It would be Trump himself. And that is what I will close this and say why I'm here. I wanted to take a moment both in the white, you have, hey, you white people, and they start to laugh, and you're almost a minister, but I say whatever I want. Well, I wanted to see, take a moment and speak Spanish, because at the beginning I did not know that Donald Trump wanted to highlight that Trump wanted to make English its main language. If you see this white man here, look, he's very brave. I wanted to say that you all have here, and I wanted to mention that when, for the first time, it was decided that the new federal language of communication was English or French or Spanish, and the president, his name was Adam, And it was decided that no, that this needed to be there needed to be a fundamental freedom that everyone speaks whatever they want to speak, but no one said that this was it, to speak English. And then the other day, I'm walking down the street and I see a cartel, an ad that says we have to take care, we have to take. We have to take care in Castellano, in Spanish. Here, I don't know how many you are all mixing up, changing the terms, and that is life. That is the strength, the beautiful strength of life. Our children to don't ask us if they can love or not, or who are they gonna have children with. That's what life is, and it's that universal humanism that is concrete in life, in the language, the restaurants, the food. It's so impressive. Here, a Chinese one, an Italian, and I don't know who else. And I'd like to say here because in my country, all the races say aquí, aquí. Every generation replaces the president, right? And so, what? No one's asking you for anything. Everything's forgotten. Your children, and they'll do whatever they want. And I used to say, did you know that the first dish that French love is the couscous? Please. And those who eat pizza the most are the French too. Leave us alone. Life will be stronger than all you fascist, racist world. The life will overcome, and if you are so afraid of this, it's because life is actually winning against all of you. And so, the moment is very dangerous, very difficult.
We're fighting a war of consciousness, and the consciousness that we want to create is the consciousness of human beings. We're not only fighting for nature, I have to say it, nature doesn't need us. And yeah, if we all of us disappear, nature will go on. No. We are defending life itself, the only ecosystem that allows for human existence. That's what we're defending. That's the highest form of consciousness. There is a common good. They can't appropriate water, peace, and the health of all of us. These are common goods. No one can tell us that air is a private thing. Capitalists will commodify anything. They're going to commodify air itself. So, what do we call this level of consciousness? We have to be conscious of the fact that we're human beings, and to remain human and to continue a human civilization, we have to stop the capitalist form of production. We have to end this because we will not survive. I can tell you, because here there's a lot of militancy. But it's horrible what I'm seeing here. When Trump decides that they're going to apply again the Alien Enemies Act, that any immigrant can be treated as the enemies of this country once were. What does that mean? That each and every immigrant will be surveilled, and when one of them raises their voice, then ICE can deport them without any due process. They're going to be treated as an enemy of the U.S. And when they say that narcos are terrorists, we don't need to call them terrorists. They're narcos. Why do they say that they're terrorists? In order to apply methods of warfare that are unusual. They're gonna say they're gonna want to go into Mexico to look for terrorists, and they have a list. They have some of them in jail here. They have a list, and then they can call AMLO a narco. They might just do it, and that is why we have to be so alert and help and answer the first call. If our Mexican brothers and sisters call us, we have to fight with them. That's what we have to do. We have to be vigilant. Me, if they call me, I'm gonna answer the call for Morena. I'm gonna be there the next day. We may not see eye to eye on everything, but it doesn't matter. We can't let Trump win. And I don't say it, I don't care what gringos do. They are a people. They are a country. They are a nation. They decide. But when it affects all of us, we all have to speak up. Lastly, I want to say that the new internationalism does not need, I don't know what international direction. No. What we need are common causes, common struggles. We have to fight for the commons, like for water, but we have to fight for peace. I think it's really important for us to understand it doesn't matter which party, we have to be for peace and against war, because this war is so destructive. It's the war that is committing a genocide in Gaza. What the Palestinians are suffering right now is the destiny of everyone that can be threatened. War today is the daughter of Guernica. Today's war is the product of all the genocides that we've seen. And just as they're doing in Gaza, they can do to the rest of us, because I want to dedicate today to the Palestinian people. A round of applause for all of our speakers, our powerful speakers, and for the young people that started us out with some revolutionary culture. I want to thank all of you for being here with us. We're going to finish this part of the program, and I hope that we can continue sharing the space together. This week, there's going to be a protest on Friday. There's going to be a global day of action for Palestine. The topic that closed us off, it's going to be at 5 p.m. here on 34th Street, on the 34th Street and the 7th Avenue. So you can join us. We can continue, not just with words, but with actions. Because as everyone here said, that's the most important thing, that we go to the streets together. and to let Trump know that he can threaten the people. And I want to thank all of you for your time, for being here in this space, and I'll see you soon at the People's Forum and on the streets. Thank you.
The world as if it were a business rumor. Pam cuts a record like a surgeon cuts a tumor from